Josh, Trent, and Justin are at the Lavender Palace here in Las Vegas, and we're talking about technology, and we're also talking about other things that involve technology, including sexual underwear, chips that you can implant in your skin that produce different pheromones, and somewhere in there we'll talk about fitness.
Yeah, somewhere we'll talk about fitness.
I think a little bit.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a crazy day.
It was crazy. This is my first experience at CES, so I mean, I was like a fish in big waters there. I didn't know where to go.
It's like the Pacific Ocean.
Yes. I was like coming in from a little pond and jumping into the ocean. So.
But you're a big fish, man. I mean, how long have you actually been interested in technology? This has been like 10, 15 years for you.
It's kind of my thing. I'm always paying attention to what the coolest new thing that's coming out, and I'm totally guilty of buying all the gadgets and everything else, even if it's useless. Yes. I can't help it. If it's cool, I'm in. You know, and I'm paying attention. So this is one of those trips where I'm like, yay. It was like almost Disneyland for me just to see all the cool tech and gizmos out there that people are coming up with. So.
I felt overwhelmed, though. I almost felt at times there's no way, even if I wanted to see everything, that I could see everything. And especially when it comes to, there's a whole home section at CES. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about this, too. So let's dive into like how everything's freaking connected.
Right.
Your fridge, your phone, your wearable.
They just don't want you to get up anymore. They want to do everything for you now. Like everything. So, I mean, I didn't see anything for the refrigerator. We talked about this as far as like, so if I'm low grocery wise, if I'm running out of something, they're going to figure that out and order it for you. So it's the convenience factor, right? They're trying to figure that out everywhere in your home. They're trying to make everything sort of automated and communicate for you.
And this is cool too, because on one side we have technology that's making things easier, but then on the other side it's like we still have to remain conscious and keep hold of our free will and choice. Mm-hmm. That's a fine line.
It is these days. I mean, everything's moving so fast, and it's almost like in this whole facial recognition thing. So I just got the iPhone X, and I can order just by using my face. And so if I'm linked up to Amazon Prime and I impulsively want to buy something, boom, it just happened just like that. I didn't have any time to evaluate that decision.
So it can make us buy things that possibly we don't want. You know, there's a lot of stuff at this CS that like, I know I don't want it all, but what were a few things that you saw where you're like, wow, I could actually see myself using that. I could see myself purchasing that. I had like probably a big three. I had big three that I would actually use.
Yeah. I mean, there was a ton of wearables, and here's the thing. We actually went to the wrong side. So we ended up going.
Oh, you were hanging out with all the drones, man.
Yeah, which was cool. But I was trying to find all the fitness gadgets because that's, you know, more of my interest as far as like what we do with the podcast and everything. But man, yeah, we were over there with all the drones, all the cameras, all that stuff, and you know, coming back to the fitness side, there was a few things that I thought were pretty cool and pretty interesting. I forget the name of the company. Ucalm, is that the name of the company?
Newcom. Yeah.
Newcom.
Dude, tell us about your situation there, because that was the first time anybody's ever rubbed GABA cream on your neck.
It was the first time, and I enjoyed it. And that was one of those things where I was completely open to see kind of what was going to happen with that, and getting into that state. So you meditate basically for 20 minutes, and so you're in this chair, and they put these eye blocks over you, and you know you're listening to this sort of ambient music, and man, my body shut down. It shut down. I was completely in that parasympathetic state, and getting up and kind of getting back to the world was tough. I thought so. They were actually pitching it more like you're going to get this clarity, and now everything's
like a recharge.
It's going to recharge you, and now you're going to get, you know, your mind's going to be sharper and going through. I didn't necessarily experience that. It really knocked me out. The whole rest of the night, we were just super tired, and it knocked me out, man.
So the company's called Newcom, but they were telling me that now they're working with the NHL. They have a bunch of athletes they're working with, and I almost feel like, you know, the stuff that's in Organifi, like the adaptogen, so the ashwagandha. If you're tired, it'll actually allow you to rest.
Right.
Maybe that's what it was. You were on 4 hours of sleep.
We were definitely running
I mean,
hot.
the Newcom. If we have pro sports teams that are looking at this like technology, this entrainment technology, you know that it has some value.
Absolutely. I mean, it did get me to that state. And so I think that one of the things, though, with these pieces of technology, like, so it's trying to condense that meditation process and kind of get you there quicker.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like some people that can't get there on their own, basically, they don't want to do the legwork to get to the meditative state.
They want to cheat, yeah.
Yeah, they want to get there as quick as possible. So I'm always cautious with products that try to like get you there like super fast and you don't go through the natural process to get there. But I could totally see relevant usage for that. With somebody that's like super type A, super driven, has no idea how to actually feel that. And what that feels like. So it definitely worked. So I was very curious.
It was fun too because we got there and just randomly Dr. Michael Bruce was there, who wrote an entire book, and he has all this career work on chronobiology and circadian alignment. Mm-hmm. And he was saying that when you use this device, he actually uses it with his kids, which I thought, I was like, wow, if you use this with your like young kids, it's probably legit. But I think people are underslept, man. Like how many things at CES were involving sleep tech?
Oh,
we'll talk about this thing a little bit. It is called the Sleep Score Max, which we talked to one of the founders there. There was an entire wing dedicated to sleep. Do you think America's just so tired that that's why all this sleep
Nobody's
tech's coming
getting
out?
sleep. Everybody's overstimulated and running on that sympathetic drive. Like every day, I have to go 100%. And I think it's one of those things that's so underrated. But now people are realizing the importance of sleep. Oh my God! Like sleep is so crucial, for metabolism, for hormone balance, everything. So I think that we're finally realizing, okay, we need to address this. And so now every company's trying to address it.
Let's go to bed. And it's funny that these technology companies are now making revenue off of the basic building blocks of human wellness.
Right.
Like breathing, sleeping, walking, all the things that are essentially free, they're making money off of. I find that fascinating.
It's very interesting, right? It's all these things that you can control yourself.
Yeah.
And but now they're sort of teaching you how to relearn that process, like that intuitive side that you had, growing up. And it's like we've lost that because we've been so distracted and been overstimulated by everything. So
that's what you're doing with Axon. Axon, the isometric training tool, it measures rate of force production, strength.
Yeah.
A lot of people are asymmetrical. The training is a little bit different than like the sleeping, the breathing, the training aspect. When are you going to put Axon at CES, man? So, I think next year you're going to be on stage.
Dude,
I know you will.
I would love that.
I'm going to mark my word. Justin is going to be at the CES Fit Tech Summit next year talking about Axon.
I would love to, and nothing would make me happier because I'm very passionate. I believe in this product. I believe in I feel like it's part of training the human body that gets so overlooked. So it's one of those stepping stones that people just really aren't connected to their body like they should be. And they want to go right to getting into the gym or going through the latest really hard workout that they find on an infomercial. And they heard so-and-so got great results from this program, where they haven't really taken the time to reconnect to their body. So Axon's one of those products I could totally see people slowing down and finding out, where the deficiencies lie and where I can reconnect to my body to better the entire body. So going through isometric exercises aren't the most sexy exercises,
but they're so necessary.
Exactly. So it's one of those things that I think people will realize, just like sleep. Sleep isn't that sexy, right? It's crucial to so many things, and even weight loss. Like if you want to do one thing that's going to help with weight loss these days, like I'm first evaluating your sleep. That's one of the first stepping stones. That's one of the main foundational things that we're addressing. Sleep. We're addressing nutrition, obviously, in activity, but stress levels. So I think that this is going to start gaining relevance, and people are going to understand that I have to slow down. I have to focus. I have to understand like the process of recruitment. So I got to properly recruit certain muscles into certain movements, and this makes it super easy. So it's one of those products. Yeah, I'm definitely passionate to get it out there and see how people are going to use it and benefit their training. So it's very much a complementary tool for anybody's training process.
And at CES, there was probably, I would say, half the floor of the devices that weren't that trustable. Yeah. But then the other half took us back to movement and sleep and breath.
Yes.
This one was interesting. This is Sleep Score Max. and it basically sends a near-field technology wave. It's not harmful. It's not like RFID chipped into your body or anything, but it measures how much you move. It measures how much you're actually sleeping with your respiration. So it measures your breath. Wow. And it measures how much you're moving throughout the night, so it'll actually give you a clear picture
so it's like
on who you are.
Scan that's constantly evaluating your breathing patterns and everything. That's great.
It's fascinating. And they're from San Diego, and they are, I think, either a subsidiary or they're partnered previously with the technology from ResMed, which is if you go to a sleep study where they put you in a sleeping ward and they check everything, it's the same technology in this little box. Everything's getting smaller from Moore's Law.
Yeah.
Like, imagine this 20 years ago. It would have been an entire wing of a university or something.
I was talking to somebody about that too, because, I've been a technology geek for a long time, and especially in the fitness realm. And it's interesting to meet you because there's not a lot of other fitness-minded people, like coming from a fitness background, getting into tech.
No.
So
they're kind of adverse to it, actually.
Right.
I found.
Well, yeah, because everything is numbers, and they're looking at solving all these problems based off of metrics, and metrics are only good if you know how to use them. And I feel like there's such a big demand for people that are actually like have more of a health and wellness background coming into tech and showing people how to navigate and use these products effectively. So that's why I think that we can kind of decipher, okay, so this product, I do see this having legs because there's an application there that's usable, but there's going to need to be some coaching. There's going to need to be some people there to really show people how to not get super consumed by just the numbers.
Yeah.
And how to use them properly.
Well, also, man, like, what's fucking inspiring about numbers? They're not that inspiring. But what is inspiring is some kind of training program attached to a human that makes the numbers powerful, that makes the numbers meaningful. The feedback on your device, like, you have it there and you can actually track it over time. You can figure out, okay, I've grown my strength 15% in 30 days.
Right.
Like, that's something
tangible.
Cool. That's something tangible. But how inspiring is a Fitbit? 2 to 6 months, they go in the drawer. There's no real community. Right?
This has always been my experience, and Fitbit's a great example. That the thing Fitbit did really well, and I'll give them props for this, is build a community. So them being able to connect, friends, family, and get that sort of accountability established to, okay, I can see where you're at for today, and it's sort of this comparative thing. And you can make it competitive, but I just like the element there of like bringing in friends and family and being able to sort of have a shared experience with that. But yeah, the step count, how much can you really focus on that being, your sort of gauge of success?
Yeah.
It only goes so far. So yeah, I always wanted to kind of create something that got a little further as far as, what's the actual work? What are you doing work-wise? And, Axon's, for me, has been very interesting in that regard, because now I can actually see, force production, which force production, if you talk about in personal training in the fitness side, not a lot of people talk about force production.
Yeah, and how important is it too? Because if you have force production, then you probably have grip strength, you probably have core strength, you probably have like really good strength, either like ipsilateral, bilateral, like you have strength that's functional. Right. But if you sit and you just do bench press or like, lat pull down, that's not real strength from a functional standpoint.
Absolutely. You can sort of add momentum into lifts, and you can go based off of whatever recruitment patterns you've established. So you can be sort of mindless in the gym doing these exercises, where this really shows you specifics of where you're losing connectivity, and it's central nervous system training, which that's been something that's been a huge sort of paradigm shift for me when I trained clients. It's how can I get that established? How can I get that response on demand and timely and effectively? And what are the best ways to sort of guide that experience and create proper recruitment patterns that are beneficial? So I think, so an example being like, so if I'm trying to curl something up, you tend to see a lot of people rock back. And so the body's natural inclination is to make something easier for you.
Yeah, it wants to be efficient. It just wants to get there. A to B quickly.
It's getting it there. It's like, we got it here. Yeah. Another example being like, I'm trying to reach for something. and put something on the shelf. So if I'm doing like an overhead press, a lot of times you'll see people actually come up on their toes, and it's a trip because the body just wants to get up higher. That's all its focus is, to get this object up higher. And so you have to shut down that part of your body and say, no, okay, our focus is up here in this actual pressing movement. So it's sort of, it's compartmentalizing the process and showing you how to be more effective.
And I remember when we did our video series at your studio in San Jose, the overhead press, if you're coming up on your toes, you're not going to generate as much power.
No.
So literally, it's going to
lose
tell
your
you.
ground forces.
It's going to tell you. Like the readout, the power output's going to tell you.
Yeah.
So getting back to the body, I mean, I almost think somebody could use their body weight and maybe the Axon stick, or just something minimal like mini bands, or not even weights, or step into a gym.
Yeah.
And probably train their whole body for an entire year and always be able to periodize it. What do you think about that?
They could. You absolutely, because the amount of tension and force that you internally produce is something that you can measure with the stick, which, I mean, it becomes this sort of esoteric idea if you don't have feedback. So for me now, having a stick that I can provide feedback in that process.
It's about the feedback.
It's about the feedback.
It's everything.
And that's what you get, the feedback when you're lifting weights, because now I'm going up in weight. I'm increasing the load. So for me to now just increase the force production, that's an interesting idea. And nobody's really done that yet. So
wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
So I know at some point you'll probably attach coaching and community to Axon. One of the questions that came up in the Game Changers panel was actually 2 fitness pros asked questions. And they're like, hey, so the panel was Level, which is the acetone measurement, Healby, which is this device that has an 85% accuracy rate for measuring protein, carbs, and fat in your body, which I still have to test out. I still have to test
Tell me
out.
how that works.
Yeah, so it's got this gold-plated sensor on the back.
Yeah.
But anyways, and then the third device
wait,
was...
I have to stop you. How many times have you heard people pitch you a product and you're like, that sounds like magic?
So much.
Like,
yeah, and I
tell
tried
me
it.
how that works.
I tried it for a while, and honestly, it kind of irritated. And so I asked Artem, the CEO, I'm like, when are you going to make this smaller? Because especially for all the women that are watching or listening, like, there's no way they're wearing this.
Okay, do you remember the Body Bug?
Yes. I texted you a photo of that one day, remember? $19.99. It used to be $249, and you'd sell it with like a 5-pack, but it's $19 now. The Body
$19 now?
Yes, $19.
Oh my God.
The Body Bug was probably about this big, and you'd like wear it on your arm.
It was this monstrosity that was on the back of your arm, and like it was so visible, like you couldn't even cover it with your entire sleeve.
That was like the original quantified self early days. Like I actually remember selling Body Bugs when I was a trainer in like 2006.
Yeah.
2007.
I was right there with you.
This is like before Wired
all my
magazine.
clients had them. I mean, I was geeking out on that thing. And to be fair, it was pretty accurate.
It was pretty good.
It was pretty good technology.
I used it for a while, and I was like, all right. I was shooting for about 2,200 calories a day.
Yeah.
But
it was a monstrosity.
It was a monstrosity.
Yeah.
The technology's definitely advanced from there.
Like even this is way better. Like
it's way better.
It's smaller. Like now we have it just in watch form. So, I mean, I think that's been the natural evolution, is just to make these things more wearable and more like fashionable.
But one cool thing that they were talking about was the feedback, and these trainers, both these fit pros that raised their hands, they're like, we understand that measurements are great and that these numbers are great, but how do we actually integrate this about the bridge for behavior change? How do we do that? You and I talked about this with Yaron on the Future of Diet and Exercise, our last show, and I still think it rings true in 2018. I don't think we've gotten radically closer to this bridge between data and doing. Yes. I don't think we've gone there, man.
I don't think so either, and that's why I'm glad you brought up Yaron. I think he's on the right track as far as like his thinking and building the platform and bringing in all the health professionals and people to actually help coach and specifically take people through the process of, okay, if I have this device that's monitoring my heart rate, if I have this device that's monitoring my blood glucose levels, how do I put all this together? Because it's so much stuff. It's so many numbers to now decipher, okay, how healthy am I really? And do I need to focus on this so much? And is that just distracting me from getting to my goals?
I think distraction is something that can come up pretty easy, because just because you're wearing something, is it really going to make you change your life? Is it really going to make you change?
Right.
Like one of my favorite quotes, Dan Party, it's like knowing is not the same thing as doing. And actually, if you know and you don't do, it's the same thing as not knowing.
Yeah.
So that rings really loud, and especially here at CES, we have all these companies that are like, well, this will change your life. Well, tell me actually how.
Right.
How will this change my life for real? And they don't always have a clear answer.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you've experienced too, I think people get really motivated initially.
It's novelty. They're like stoked on the newness.
It is. It's the newness. It's cool. Yeah. Like the momentum's really high when you first start to use it, but the sustainability isn't there yet. And I've noticed that with almost all products. I can't mention a product that I've used even personally that I haven't put on the shelf and forgot about, because it just really, I mean, it's just like anything else. Like you kind of go in waves, and intermittently I'll be focused in this direction, but that's not going to consume, my life. It's not the game changer. It's the game changer is how you sort of weave in and out of all these different things.
That's cool, because the panel was called Game Changer, and the one question I didn't have time to ask is, if you did develop a life-changing product, what would it actually be? Like, what would be the characteristics of a truly game-changing fitness or wellness or mindfulness tech product? What do you think about that, man? Like, what would it actually have to have? I think one thing it would have to have is it would have to have a clear connection between the variety in one's life, and then how do you deliver feedback on that variety on a continuous basis that's inspiring for someone?
Yeah,
that's kind of like first thing.
Yeah, and I think that there's so many different things that we're going to be monitoring, that if we can make that process easier for the consumer. So if they can just get a little nudge, a little notification of, okay, you've been in this direction long enough. Now let's kind of shift gears a little bit, and make that process really easy, really seamless, and automated, to where it just gives you a little nudge in a different direction. I think that might have staying power.
Have you been testing out any rings, or do you just use Apple for like tracking?
I have not, and I'm very curious to try it out.
This thing is fascinating. So actually tomorrow they're coming out with, they've already had pre-order for Gen 2. It's the Aura Ring. This has been radical for me because it does give me that little nudge. So I was sleep deprived like you. We came into Vegas, and it told me, don't work out today. You're sleep deprived and your body temperature has risen 1.5 degrees. And I was like, oh, that is the kind of coaching, that like continuous variable coaching that we actually need. What do you think it looks like for that continuous variable coaching? I think that's the thing that eventually the dream fitness trainer program is going to be created from.
Yeah, right? I think so. And I think with what we're doing with MAPS, we're trying to address all different interests. So we look at fitness in general. So there's power lifters, there's CrossFitters, there's bodybuilders, there's people just focused on wellness, there's yogis, there's all these different sort of modalities out there that exist. Let's evaluate each one of those. Let's see how we can condense that information and make that process more effective, and now phase it. So the thing is, we want to be able to get people to understand that all those different directions have merit. There's something there that's relevant to your life, the way that you're going to train your body. Now, how do you incorporate that? And how do you go for a certain amount of time and then go into the next direction? And so we've been putting a lot of effort in that with our MAPS programs, and trying to get to a point where, I can train like a power lifter, even if I'm a yogi, and what that looks like and how to do that. And same thing if I have a sports direction, here's how I would do that. But I also, what would benefit me is to also train in hypertrophy. And so, but there's sort of a time capsule to that as far as like the adaptation process. And
yes.
So I think that the smarter we get, we're going to understand how our body adapts, and then how we optimize that in order to kind of keep that progress going forward, so we don't hit those plateaus.
And what's crazy too, man, is you'll get this data, and it'll be this mirror, like a check-in for you, and you'll actually have to look at how you're showing up. That's where the real change occurs. Like, for example, my Aura Ring was like, you slept 4 hours and 29 minutes, bitch. You need to get more sleep.
You get it to talk shit to you like that?
Yeah, I actually programmed it so to be more real. more authentic.
I like that.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh.
But I thought to myself, okay, this is something that I could actually check in with every day. But actually, having real time feedback, it doesn't give that. Like the Oura Ring doesn't give real time sleep feedback. You can't necessarily look at it and be like, this is how I'm showing up in this moment. But honestly, I don't know how important that would be over the long haul. Because if you're doing something as a life change, maybe it's just checking about what you did yesterday so you can improve today.
Yeah.
Maybe that's really it, man.
I think that's it. Yeah. And it's just evaluating your current state of stress and like all the variables, right? So I think that's been my issue with seeing a lot of tech products is like, yeah, you can measure that, but what are all the other variables contributing to that? So maybe on paper it looks good, but you're not considering all these other factors. And so once we can kind of consider all these different factors and variables and put it all together as the best plan, I think, we're going to get closer to that.
How does this apply to sex? You went by the sex tech booth. What was the sex tech booth? We did not go by the booth yet.
I guess it was sex tech. It was like, it was a very creepy, very weird vibe.
There's some weird shit here at CES.
I'm like, are these fuck robots? What am I working with here? Like, tell me about it. And they even had like some models kind of trying to get you to go into this booth, and it was all mysterious, and I was trying to talk to them like a human being, and they were talking to me like this automated robot, and I think it was all part of the act, and this sort of facade that they're putting out there, that they got this new wave technology that's we're so advanced that you're gonna live forever, and you're gonna have the best
marketing.
Sex you've ever had.
It's marketing at its worst and best.
Yeah,
right.
And I think that it's an attention grab, so it obviously worked. I'm talking about it right now.
Yeah, that's true. We're talking. It worked. You got us.
Yeah, you got me.
You totally got us.
I mean, it was interesting. I have no idea what it is, what the technology is. They said something about stacking these chips in your spine.
All right, let's talk about this. Okay. What if you had pheromone chips that were impregnated in your skin that would allow you to become irresistible to the opposite sex?
I don't just let anybody impregnate me. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. That's true. Interesting
choice of words. You gotta wine and dine me first, just a little bit.
But what if you had a chip that was in your skin that released pheromone scent, and you just like go next to a girl at the club?
Isn't that cheating?
It's pretty much cheating.
Yeah.
I think that takes out the old school reciprocity of I'm going to talk to you and learn who you are. No, you're just going to smell my chip.
Yeah, I think it makes sense that a lot of these nerds are thinking like that, though.
I think so, because they don't want to do the hard work.
They have no social interaction.
They don't want to do the hard work of like getting down with the personal self.
No, man. My move. It was always like I would come by and then I would just like spill a drink on myself or whatever, and like.
Were you self-deprecating?
Yes.
How did you meet your wife?
I was that guy.
How did you meet your wife?
So actually, I met her in the gym, which
of course
total
you did.
Faux pas.
Of course you did.
Whoops.
This is the other Jordan Shallow. Jordan Shallow met his wife in the gym.
He did? Okay.
Yeah.
I feel a little better then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were you doing? Were you doing bicep curls? You were just like,
No, I cold called, and there's all this list of potential people that got personal training at the gym, and I was a new trainer at the time, and so I was cold calling all these potential clients and got her in, and we just had this sort of rapport between the two of us. At the time, she had a boyfriend and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
And of course, I wasn't going to let that stop me. So I just kind of tried to work my charms. It took a long time to get her attention, so I put some work in there, man.
Is she tech-minded as well? Like, is there cool gadgets in your house? No. Okay.
Like not at all. Like, I'm setting up all her stuff for her, and she still would be rocking like a razor right now if it wasn't for me. I'll be honest.
This came up yesterday a lot because I noticed that moms specifically have almost like an aversion to tech.
Really?
A majority of moms. But I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying all women do. I've just noticed in my own experience, so that nobody slays me. I've just noticed in my own experience that a lot of moms out there have actually written, like in our community groups, I just don't want to do it. It's too hard. The technology is too hard. How much do you think story about something being too hard plays into people actually using tech for their lives for the better?
Story plays into it?
Yeah, like, I can't do this, or you know what, I'm just going to breathe and actually see if it works.
Yeah. I think that's sort of the barrier that a lot of companies face, Like,
how do I make this easy for them?
Yeah, because you really have to consider, I guess the measure with that, I think somebody said it was like a 5-year-old has to be able to use it or understand it.
Perfectly stated.
That's almost the level you have to get to with these products. So, like my 4-year-old even is pretty intuitive. It's kind of creepy.
It's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah. He can grab my phone and he gets it, and he knows where to go. So I think that, that's the goal, is to always make something. It's an immediate process. Like I just push this, something happens, it's already charged up. You see how they have to ship everything already charged. Like dude, imagine if you got a new product and you're so excited about it, but now you have to wait a couple hours for it to charge.
Or it doesn't work. What's the worst?
Kills the vibe.
The worst thing that could ever happen is you buy something, you take it home, you unwrap it, and the shit doesn't work.
Oh, and the shit doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Imagine the reviews.
That's going to be, it's like so heartbreaking.
Okay.
And maybe that's why. Maybe that's why a lot of parents out there, and they buy something and it doesn't work, and they're like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll never even give it another shot.
I'm sure that happens all the time. Like if it doesn't work right then, like you literally can kill that experience.
One little second can take away 5 years of R&D and probably millions of dollars.
It's a rough business.
Being in technology is a hard business.
It's very hard.
My heart goes out to a lot of these people there because I'm looking at their stuff and I'm like, this ain't gonna work.
Right?
There's no way you could explain this to someone and have it actually be a real thing.
Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about business.
Let's shift gears.
Okay, so what is this? Because I'm walking around, I'm looking at all these like mega booths, like they've built houses inside this
$100,000 booths,
right?
Or more.
Okay, I'm not seeing. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of representatives that are kind of explaining it and trying to get people under the vision of what the product's going to provide, but I'm not seeing a lot of business happening. I'm not seeing a lot of. I will take X amount of orders, or there's no exchanges happening. There's just a whole lot of check out my cool shit. And I'm wondering how effective that is. So I actually noticed that Fitbit, they're just there for sales meetings, and they have it all exclusive to that. And so I'm wondering if they kind of experienced that with CES. Like this is very much of a display, like look at what I have. Like this is like sort of a fashion show, as you said earlier.
I'm so glad we're talking about this because probably I would say 95% of the people watching or listening maybe will never go to CES. So you and I are going to give like the inside scoop right now. There was some bullshit there, and I think a lot of it was like gorilla chest beating. Look how dope we are. Look how cool we are. But it necessarily wasn't about the human conversation about how this makes people's lives better. Right. And I've always felt this too. It's like we're here. I'm here to find out, well, what's real? What's the truth about this stuff? How does this actually uplift you? How does this actually make your life better? And I think if you look across the floor, man, it's not a lot. It's probably, I'm going to say like 25% or less of the products there.
That are relevant. But the thing is, the passion's there. And I get that as an entrepreneur and trying to develop my own product personally and going into all the pitfalls that like just trying to market it is a beast, because who is your market? Like they're trying to find all this stuff out. So, I get it, but it's to be able to take your product and go into a place like CES and show and display it, that's going to cost you quite a lot of money. And I'm not sure that that's the move until you have that audience established already. So
because the money you might spend, let's say you spend $100,000 in gorilla chest beating and having a nice booth. What if you took that $100K and you applied it towards creating a 30-person beta group that you filmed and documented the whole time?
Right.
I mean, you could with $100,000, you could make a really cool documentary video.
You could
of 30 people, right?
Put on Netflix.
Give them cameras at their house, have them do check-ins, like. I think that's the way to humanize technology. And I think there's who said this yesterday? Or it was actually Dave Chappelle. We were watching the Dave Chappelle thing last night. And he's like, it's hard to see everything about an elephant when you're this close to the penis skin. You got to pull back a little bit. And I think that's what we're seeing here. It's like these guys and gals are so close to the tech. It's literally, it's right here. And they're just like, well, how can we make it better? And they don't actually know how to make it better.
God, the feedback is everything. I mean, if they can sort of step out and get that bird's eye view of like what's really going on as far as like how people are responding to their product, I think that they're going to be better off. So I think, test groups. And
well, you do this with maps. Didn't you guys do somewhat of a beta or 3 or 4 before you launched it? You got feedback, and that's how you iterate stuff.
Absolutely.
Program development or technology design,
we have
same
a
iteration.
running forum that constantly gives us feedback. I mean, whatever we come up with. So it's the most valuable asset we have as our company, and we know that, and so we always try and foster them and treat them, with respect and give to them constantly. So I found that was one of the best things that we did, and that's what we did right. And, it's the same thing, so with Axon, I kind of realized like, this is going to take some time. This is going to take some time to build the tribe.
You're so patient, man.
Oh, it kills
so
me inside because I'm not a patient person, but
okay.
I just know that I have to do it this way because I need the relevance. I need the data. I need the test groups to provide the usage. So how are they using it? How is it benefiting their lives?
Yeah.
I can't like tell and command you that. You have to tell me that, and then I have to work, into that. So I think that's the mentality that's shifted because I know the relevance of it because I've trained, thousands of people, and I know exactly how I would use it. But guess what? Like, I'm not going to sell it unless I speak to you and how you see the relevance of it. So I'm trying to find that out.
I love the word relevance because I think a lot of this tech might not be relevant to where people actually are. In other words, in the stages of behavior change, you have that like contemplation phase, and then you have like, oh, I'm going to do research, and then you have a third wave where it's like, okay, I'm going to execute a strategy to implement this in my life. So it's like stages of the lifestyle change. And when it comes to most tech out here, I almost feel like they're skipping the first two stages. They're not really allowing people to go through the discovery process. There's no onboarding sequence, right? Even Fitbit, I don't feel like there's a teaching protocol or there's no AI to guide you through it. And a lot of these programs, I think Aura's done a pretty damn good job, man.
Yeah.
I really like their app.
I need to get connected to them. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we had the CEO Petre Latela, and cool name, by the way.
Wow.
I practiced saying that.
I was going to say, you just really rolled that off.
The Finnish have crazy names. The Finnish have really interesting names for pronunciation. But anyways, we talked about this, and he was like, people don't need a lot.
Yeah.
Just give somebody something, like one little, like you said, nudge,
cue.
One little gem for your day.
Absolutely.
Just breathe more today. Drink more
Isn't that
water
it?
today.
We're already overstimulated. Why do we need to bombard people? We just need to simplify things.
Beautifully stated.
Yeah.
So this onboarding, this kind of learning curve, what do you think that looks like, man? I mean, for anything, right? It's got to be something where it's intuitive daily kind of touches, not just blanket sweeping.
Yeah.
Make sure today you smile. It's like, well, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Sleep well tonight. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could get like specifics. So,
yes.
So I think that providing, something that's measuring your breathing or measuring your actual sleep patterns, like you could be a little more specific as to maybe the timing of it or maybe the ritual going into, the process of getting into sleep. So, like shutting down the electronics, like dimming the lights, like going through the actual stages in the process of preparation to make the quality better. So I think that that's another avenue that people just completely dismiss.
I think that in the future, the successful lifestyle change programs are truly going to be comprehensive programs where there's a coach, there's a wearable, so it's like coach, wearable, community. They're all integrated there, or Axon, or whatever it is, like Oura Ring, even this Gobi, right, the HealBee device. It's like, I think people are really device focused, and I think that actually is the downfall.
Yeah.
This integration of all three, it's
challenging.
One
tool, and I think, and yeah, there's gonna be companies that have a cool product that they can sort of control their own community with, but even bigger than that. Based off of all these different variables and all these different directions we could go, if we have like a centralized sort of hub, I don't know if it's an Apple or a Google or somebody like that that's really creating that atmosphere to integrate all the tools, and that way you can get like the simple cue of like where maybe your deficiencies lie. Maybe that's the move. Maybe that's what we're going to see in the future. I don't know, but I definitely like the simplicity, but the complexity of understanding, all that biofeedback. Like I love getting and aggregating all that data because it excites me. I'm like, wow, that's what I'm doing. You just learn so much about yourself.
Why does it excite you though? Is it because you know that once you see it, you can change?
Yeah, well, that's exactly, like I didn't know that. And, to see that that maybe like I can't produce that much force. So this is something with my own product. I'm like, wow, like that's crazy to me. And I could see like immediately if I put focus there, I can improve. And it's almost like that across the board with like maybe I wasn't sleeping that well. Now I could see just by focusing on this how much I've already improved.
What do you think about the calm technology, the meditation technology? Today, when we go on the floor, I'm really focused on the emotional stuff. Like, what are the stress trackers out there? We haven't even explored that yet. It's probably in like the upper east wing that we haven't watched.
I blazed through, man. I was on a hustle.
There's so much there.
So to consume, it was too much.
Because I look at Muse and like, I used Muse for a long time, and I've actually now I'm all focused on, naked meditation in front of the Juve light. Which, thanks for the introduction to Juve. That was so fun.
Isn't it great?
So I've been loving waking up and getting warm and getting that photobiomodulation. I'm surprised Juve isn't here.
You know what? I was expecting to see them.
They deserve to be here.
Yeah. And we actually missed Halo Sport as well. I guess they were representing here, and we didn't even see them. So shout out to them. But, Juve has been interesting. And it's one of those things that, like, I just have noticed the more I use it, I just feel – I can tangibly feel a little bit different.
I think for me, I just get like this little pump wake up.
Yeah, it helps kind of like activate everything.
Right? And now photobiomodulation, I don't know too much about it. Yeah. By the way, I don't see any photobiomodulation companies here at all. There's no red light companies. This is a totally different experience than Bulletproof.
I know Ben Greenfield's gone crazy with that, all that.
Yeah, he's kind of like eccentric fringe, man.
I just was shoving things in my nose.
He attaches leads to his balls.
Photoreceptors in my nose. That's interesting.
I just feel like he's the fringe, but then you know what? He's just making people ask questions.
I love it. I love the guy. So
isn't that really what it is?
Yeah. Totally.
So what else have you noticed about recovery, man? Because Mercola talked about Juve and photobiomodulation for recovery. He loves it.
Right, and that was sort of a pitch that was interesting to me, which after doing a super intensified workout, then kind of using the Juve as, like a way to kind of accelerate the process of recovery. And, I've experimented a few times, needed to do a little more experimentation with that specifically, but it was interesting. Like I did notice I probably wasn't quite as sore and felt like my CNS kind of was okay the next day. It wasn't too bad, so I wasn't too overloaded.
Are you interested in the stress tracking stuff?
I am interested in it. Yeah.
Have you done any research on that, or what do you know about it at this point?
I honestly I haven't even ventured into that direction yet. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few devices, and I think it's really around the temporal lobe. That's where they're getting the readings. I just don't know. It's pretty general if you get something at the wrist, at the radial, right? Because heart rate's one thing, but how do you blend? I think it's blending heart rate, skin temperature. It's actually listening to your nervous system and seeing when the pendulum is swinging either sympathetic or parasympathetic. Right. And then they're making some kind of algorithm prediction on what state you're in as far as stress.
Okay, so now this is different than HRV.
I think so, but like this is what I'm interested in checking out today. So I'll definitely make sure that I put this information out to the community.
Yeah, no, I'm totally interested in that. So I'd love to hear your feedback on all that stuff because I've experimented a little bit with HRV and just trying to get use that with my clients and kind of see tangibly like what I'm working with for that day. So I have them like get their reading in the morning and give me that feedback and. It's been, for the most part, it's been somewhat accurate as far as like how they feel and what their performance is.
Yeah.
But also too, there's those variables that interrupt that process. Like they didn't get enough sleep. Like, somebody said something that set them off and now, they're in a totally different state.
They got in a fight with their husband or wife the night before.
So it's not super reliable.
What do you think? Dr. Andy Galpin, he wrote Unplugged along with 3 other authors. We both interviewed him on our shows.
Love that guy, yeah.
What do you think he would react to here? I think he'd be triggered and fascinated at the same time because he's not anti-technology. No. He just wrote his whole book about like rewiring your brain to connect back with your primal senses.
Probably one of the most balanced, measured guys, like scientist minds I've met. So I would be fascinated to hear him break everything down because, there's with a cool direction that a company's going, there's also caution.
Yeah.
So I think that he's a great person to kind of evaluate, potential risks, long term with some of these devices versus like what we should really be focusing on too and do things intuitively. So yeah, I think he would be hesitant to really buy into anything here and all their promises.
But also for anyone watching or listening, I mean, they get to have healthy skepticism. I think I heard that from Chris Kresser, like the healthy skeptic. Be skeptical about tech. Don't just buy all these things. If you have income, some extra income, hold on to it and make sure that you invest in something you can really trust. Like do your diligence.
It somewhat parallels the supplement industry.
That's a beautiful contrast.
Don't you think? Because like everything I've seen with the supplement industry, I mean, it can get way out there. Like you can get people that come up with products that are just, I mean, don't put that in your body, please.
Right. Yeah.
And they're just making all kinds of claims. They're giving you, who the hell knows what you're getting because it's not regulated sometimes. So, but there are good products out there, and there are things that are actually relevant.
Sure.
But it's the same thing. It's tech is one of those new, it's sort of the new way to optimize your body. So now we're interested in this direction, but it has all the same signs and same sort of cautionary tales I would put out there with supplements.
I heard somebody say at a panel, it's still the wild, wild west when it comes to fitness and wellness tech. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the most truthful statement out there. There's a vetting process. I think for me, I've actually just purchased things on Amazon. This is kind of a little hack. Purchase on Amazon, try it out. Give it the full experience though. Join the person's community, the manufacturer's community. Actually give it a shot. And then if you don't like it after a month, just ship it back.
Send it back.
Hard to do that though if you buy it from the person's website.
Yeah. Isn't that that's an interesting process. They've basically made it so like Amazon is the place you go. Like you like you said, as a consumer, I mean, let's talk about the review process. Does a brand really matter to you these days, or is it more the reviews of the brand?
It's so funny. We're going back to tribal sharing. Like, what does your tribe think? Okay, I'll try it.
Yeah.
It's like social contagion at the lowest level, and Amazon has become almost like the social contagion lens.
Yeah.
It's the one where everybody goes to give reviews and figure things out.
Right.
Now,
and as a consumer, I love it.
But check this out, though. There's a lot of people that leave fake reviews. The companies pay people, and they have these bots that leave fake reviews on Amazon.
It all over the place.
So then how can we trust it? And actually, I remember the three of us, Sal actually mentioned this, I think. No, Adam talked about like how they're superimposing people's faces. And now it's like we don't even know if that's really the person online anymore. We're there right now. I mean, the technology exists where you don't actually know if it's a real person or a real, the robot's leaving comments.
Yeah.
We're in such a crazy time. What are we doing?
I don't know.
Where exactly are we right now?
It could get, you can go down a rabbit's hole with that for sure. But I think that overall, you see the process of how they try and regulate. And I know we actually talked to Mike Matthews about his experience with.
Who's Mike Matthews?
Mike Matthews is an author. Bigger, Stronger, Faster, I think.
The documentary film?
No. So I think I said that wrong. So
okay.
It's very similar to that title, but...
not the film.
Yeah, not the film. It's a book. And he's one of those guys in the fitness space that not many people know unless you are, into his books. He's written a few books. He's also has a supplement line that he's a very intelligent guy, and he's put a lot of effort into like the screening process of quality. So, I mean, I'm not going to plug his supplements too hard here, but at the same time, like he's a great guy. He does great stuff, but he has really found his place on Amazon and how to, really like make his whole business revolve around Amazon and click funnels, and he's sort of the master of online marketing, and which is great because he's making great money, but not a lot of people in our space know of him, but consumers are buying his products. So it's an interesting thing. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but he's just another one of those sort of pioneers that have really mastered the online marketing piece and getting his information out there. But he's gone through all these different processes of like gangsters out there that have deliberately sabotaged some of his products and wrote a terrible review.
I can imagine.
And they've said something to the fact of like, this has caused some kind of ailment. And so right away, Amazon will just dump your product. So now all of a sudden your product doesn't exist on Amazon. You're losing, thousands of dollars per day that you would have got otherwise. So, I mean, yeah, you're going to run into problems like that too. So
maybe supplements. I loved how you brought that up too, because the supplement and tech industry, they're really side by side.
Oh, yeah.
They can both be altered by like positive, negative reviews really fast. So maybe for the vetting process, it's just about pressure and time. That's how you form a freaking diamond. Okay, charcoal turns into a diamond after like thousands of years in pressure.
Sure.
Same thing possibly with supplement companies and technology as well.
Mm-hmm. So and that's interesting. As a business owner, you love the early adopters. I mean, that's your people.
Yeah.
Right. And it's tough because like me as a consumer, I'm gonna tell people wait it out. Version 2 is always gonna be better, and
Never by the first year of any car.
yeah, they're gonna get all the bugs clear and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But if you want a product to exist really bad, you want to be that early adopter. You want to help contribute to that, and so yeah, it's an interesting thing because I'm sort of split with that. Some products, like I just really want this to exist, so I'm gonna put my money in that direction and hope that it helps to contribute and get it out to market. But at the same time, I'm like, I know it's not gonna be perfect.
Man,
It's not gonna have everything figured out.
the long-term aspects of I think where we're going, like this year above all years, I really do believe that technology and people's awareness, everything that's going on, we're kind of in this almost like tornado where it is leveling up consciousness.
Hmm.
How do you think that technology will help consciousness, make people wake up, make people more aware, give people greater intelligence about their emotional self, their body?
I think that it's really just going to help people be more present. So if we can be more focused on, what I'm doing currently, right now, in this moment, if those devices help to kind of get you to that state, then it's going to help the overall consciousness. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to be present. I'm going to know, how to navigate a little more effectively throughout my day. I'm going to have better relationships with people because I'm actually going to be focused and talking to you, versus, on my phone and just like being drawn away from that process. So I think that, it's sort of a double-edged sword. Some people could get into the consumption part of it, which will take away, or some people can learn how to refrain and just use the data to contribute towards, a better focus.
A technology addiction. I know that if I'm not conscious and not aware, I will definitely go to laziness and addiction myself, period. So it's about also intentionality. Don't just get the device and then think, oh, my life's going to change because of this device. You still actually get to look at the fabric of your emotional self,
Yeah.
right? Like who you really are,
Right.
your personality type. We had Heidi Forbes Ost. She's a PhD. She wrote this book called Mastering the Digital Self, and we just had her on the podcast. And she
That's
talked
cool.
about technology typing. Like, what kind of technology type are you?
Hmm.
Are you an abstainer? Are you somebody that attributes technology to pain? There was like 4 other different categories.
Hmm.
And then she really talked about gratitude. Having curiosity and gratitude for the technology is just as important as using it itself. How many times have you been like angry at a device and like thrown it on the ground? Or
Yeah.
like people that they're not actually respecting the technology and they wonder why their relationship with it
Wow.
is so shitty. It's because like, well, you're not actually having gratitude for these incredible tools that we have now.
Right.
Like, can you
Stupid
just be
phone.
grateful?
Ah.
Can
Yeah.
you just be grateful about where we
You're
are?
making everything so much easier for me. I hate you, but you didn't work this one time. Yeah.
What are you most stoked on then for tech? I think for me it is around the emotional part because I think physically, man, physically is where everything happens. But then after you get the physical under wraps, it has to go to the emotional.
Yeah, it has to go. I mean, you have to be balanced in that for sure. I think, yeah, the emotional end of it, I could totally see people that don't have a great sort of handle on that, and they're not balanced emotionally.
Yeah.
They're going to react to technology, violently, and they're going to have that sort of experience because it's like they're not emotionally balanced to begin with. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think that's always you see that a lot online too. You see where most like interactions with comments and where all the trolls are coming from. It's this knee-jerk reaction. It's this immediate emotional response that I feel people need to really check themselves on. Like what's triggering that? Like why are you responding that way? And so if I'm smashing my phone into the ground, if I'm breaking my TV and, like where's your emotional state at?
Or even if you're just like, okay, I'm done with this, and then you just drop it on the floor, like you're not really
You're not
respecting it.
respecting it. Yeah.
And it's not
Makes
that
a lot
you
of
it's
sense.
not that you have to respect the technology. It's just like, well, how you do one thing is kind of how you do everything. So if you're not really respecting your tech, then you're probably maybe where does that show up in your relationship with your wife or your husband or your kids?
Right. I'm sure it's a direct reflection.
Let's wrap it with family tech, man.
Mm.
We see baby tech there. We see everything about smart home connected.
Right.
Are you stoked on anything family tech?
I so I definitely use baby monitors and stuff like that because I was and that was essential because we had, my kids were downstairs, and so it's kind of cool to have an extra set of ears and eyes and stuff like that, in the crib. And but at the same time, I could just see how we just get so obsessed with. Okay, it almost feeds into that hovercraft.
The helicopter
parent. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, helicopter parenting.
It's like now I have a teddy bear that's monitoring, their every play. It just gets too invasive. I just see so many.
I was just
products.
picturing the teddy bear you were talking about. It's kind of freaky,
right? Yeah. It's like Teddy Ruxpin, but creepier.
Did you have a Teddy Ruxpin when you were a kid?
Hell yeah!
Oh,
dude.
I love Teddy Ruxpin.
Man. I had that and a glowworm and all that shit.
Glowworm, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw out there Cabbage Patch Kid.
Cabbage Patch cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cards.
Definitely.
Actually, it was more Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, that's true.
That was
wait.
that was the manly version.
Was it Did Cabbage Patch Kids have cards?
I don't think so.
Okay, I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
So I have 2 nieces, 2 and 4,
mm-hmm.
and I could definitely say that they're really good when it comes to technology. Like both of them, they can get an iPad and be like, oh, I'm gonna get the Wi-Fi. Like my 4-year-old niece can connect to Wi-Fi on her own, right?
So it's okay. So there's a lot of things, and we talk about this all the time on MindPump. Just how we're gonna deal with this going forward, how we're gonna deal with this ease of access to technology and how obsessed people are with the devices, and where we put sort of boundaries and put that in place so they get a certain time limit with this, because the thing is, this stuff is not going away. And once we sort of figure out how to use them more effectively, I think that's sort of my focus as a parent. I'm trying to restrict as long as I can because I want that face-to-face interaction with their friends and with us, and establish that that sort of time, that precious time that you get growing up. But it's because I see both. I can see the convenience factor. So if I'm out in public and I just want to give them an iPad to watch a movie, I know that it's sort of an easy way for them to just be focused on that, and I know they're not going to be breaking something over here and getting crazy. And but at the same time, I try as hard as I can not to have that be the go-to.
Yeah.
And to sort of make sure that they're growing, and they're growing through movement, because another very underrated process of learning is that kinetic learning, that experience where they're climbing, they're grabbing rocks and dirt, and they're being out in nature, and that for me that's really important. And so I feel like technology is that's one of those things that's always going to be there. And so I want to just slowly introduce them because they're already getting in school. Everybody's on an iPad doing their projects, and and I want them to be able to excel in school and be able to use these devices effectively. But at the same time, I want them to have to experience that real world connectivity with other people, and and have relationships.
Well, then maybe at this family tech section, we'll find kind of almost a magician or some kind of articulation of how all these families can use the tech without it becoming so addictive, because the brains of children are raw. And look at what happened with tobacco when they went to court. Big Food's going to court soon. And eventually, I think big tech will go to court as well, because the writing's on the wall. When kids are 10 and under, the brain is primed for learning. It's like Play-Doh at that point. So man. you get Facebook that wants to build this new platform for young kids. Mm-hmm. Talking about family tech and integration of that, I don't know the ramifications of having a special platform for kids under 10 for Facebook. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, I know. I think you're right, because it's engineered in there. The addictive properties.
Get them while they're young.
Are engineered. Yeah.
This is what happened with sugar in the 30s and 40s and 50s with the ads on TV.
Yeah.
So how is it any different from technology?
Cookie crisp. You know what I'm saying?
You did that really well, man.
Yeah. There's. Have you ever watched all the man? And I still as a parent now, I'm seeing all these commercials for sugary cereals and stuff. It is
it's got to trigger. It's got to trigger the shit out of you.
Oh my God, I can't believe it! All the flashing bright colors, and this crazy toucan, crackhead bird that comes out and tries to pitch you these shitty, fruit cereal. It's just pure sugar. Yeah, it's just hard. It's hard because I do see tech having those same problems that we're all going to have to face, as parents, and what to do about that. So,
well, law of duality is present, man. As technology rises, there's always going to be the crazy, evil, gnarly stuff. And then on the other side of the coin, there's these beautiful things that can change lives, and they're always there. It's always there. I love talking to you, man.
Hey, man, you get me.
I totally get you.
Yeah.
And it's been so fun to get to know you over this past, year and a half almost, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's refreshing because, I don't get to talk a lot about technology and my passions in that direction on the show, too. So it's great to kind of riff with somebody who's like sort of in that same mindset as me. And, we had a great time here at CES. So we definitely plan on coming back next year and sort of doing it maybe add another day this time and really be able to kind of take our time with it. So.
We'll see if we can come here to the Velvet Pad of Destiny as well, or whatever we called it. The Lavender Dome.
I mean, it creates a nice vibe.
It is a good vibe in here.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, let us know. I'm sure we'll link this in videos and social and everything else.
Absolutely.
What do you guys want to know about yourself and technology and everything else that's going on as we see this evolutionary curve be completely surpassed by Moore's Law and everything else?
Yeah.
What do we miss, man? What do we miss that people should really know about tech in 2018?
That's a great question. What did we miss?
I mean, we probably missed some stuff, but
yeah.
I think for me, it's like just make sure your intentionality
maybe
is correct.
entertainment, but whatever.
Yeah,
that's obvious.
I think just make sure your intentionality is correct. Like make sure that you know before you do the device or the app or the platform. Check in with yourself of actually what do you want to create first? What's your intentionality behind that?
Absolutely.
I think
Thanks
so.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Josh and Justin saying goodbye from CES 2018. We'll talk to you soon.